What was the most terrifying paranormal event you've ever experienced? Many years ago, when Daniel was just a 9-year-old child, his younger sister used to share his room for sleep. Back then, he had the habit of getting up in the depths of the night, either to quench his thirst or simply to explore the world that inhabited the darkness. On one of those nights, as he got out of bed as usual, he was met with a sight that made his heart race. There was his sister, sitting on the edge of the bed, but something was wrong. She had her back to him, and when he tried to break the silence, the words seemed reluctant to come out. "Lie down, it's time to sleep," he tried to say, but she remained motionless, as if in a trance. Her hair hid her face, and the sense of unease only grew. But then, in a flash of rationality, he turned and looked to the side. His sister was lying next to him, breathing peacefully. Whatever was occupying her place was not his actual sister, but a perfect copy of her back. A shiver ran down his spine as he observed this unsettling presence. The silence was disturbing until a noise coming from his parents' room snapped him back to reality. In the blink of an eye, that mysterious figure vanished without making a single sound. The house was empty now, and fear gnawed at him as he desperately tried to make sense of what had happened. Months passed since that incident, but answers continued to elude him. All of this took place in the family home, a place where strange events were as common as daylight. Objects moved without explanation, inexplicable noises echoed through the hallways, and doors opened and closed as if they had a will of their own. The family had resigned themselves to these phenomena, attributing them to a curse that had been cast by a neighbor 2 decades ago. This neighbor, a kind of local witch, harbored deep hatred for the family due to their religious beliefs and their refusal to lend her money. A chance encounter at a supermarket had led to terrifying harassment and threats, making the family suspect that she had put a curse on them. One night, when darkness enveloped the house, Daniel ventured into the kitchen for some water. He didn't turn on the lights because the path was short, and he was determined not to wake anyone. His loyal cat followed him, her eyes gleaming in the darkness. The inside of the house was pitch black, and the only illumination came from the momentary opening of the refrigerator. He turned toward the door, and there, in the dim light, he sensed the presence of his cat, or so he thought. She was sitting by the trash, a silent shadow in the deep night. Kneeling down, he called out to the cat, but no sound escaped her lips. Nevertheless, he persisted, attempting to pet her while murmuring words of affection and warning about the door. The dark figure in front of him, though vague in the dimness, had the silhouette of his cat. The size and shape matched perfectly. He believed it was his cat accompanying him in that darkness. But a sharp instinct stopped him before he could touch that mysterious form. Something was amiss, a feeling of unease that seemed to emanate from the shadows. Seconds stretched as he remained in that uncomfortable position. Then, a chilling realization struck him. His beloved cat was, in fact, sitting behind him, the cat that purred and interacted with him as a loyal family member. However, the entity occupying the space in front of him was not his cat, nor any creature that could exist. It was as if it was sitting there, silently watching him, without moving a muscle. The anguish enveloped him when he saw that shape begin to rise, its legs stretching as if a person were getting up. In the blink of an eye, it slithered under a nearby table, disappearing from his sight. Terrified, he grabbed his real cat and rushed back to his room, where his furry companion nestled beside him. That night, the cat didn't stray from him, an unusual behavior for the animal. But the strange events didn't stop there. On the following night, they heard a restless noise in the hallway, as if an animal were running back and forth, its claws tapping on the wood. However, only he and his cat were locked in the room. A thorough investigation revealed no visible cause for the disturbing sound. They decided to share the experience with the family, only to find out if anyone else had witnessed or heard unexplainable phenomena in the house. The stories piled up, but no satisfying explanation emerged. A few weeks later, in the stillness of the night, he was awake in his room, engrossed in his cell phone. The sound of the door opening led him to believe that his father was reprimanding him for staying up late. He quickly pretended to be asleep, hiding the cell phone and covering himself with the blankets. The footsteps drew nearer, breathing became present, and a hand touched his head through the fabric. He knew his ruse had been uncovered, so he lowered the blankets to apologize, but what he saw left him terrified. In the blink of an eye, the presence he had felt dissipated, leaving him alone in the room. The door was closed as usual, and his cat, who had been sitting on the bed, stared at him with wide eyes, trembling slightly. He hugged her that night, unable to find comfort or sleep. The strange occurrences continued, and the mystery remained unsolved, an experience that marked him for the rest of his life as one of the most frightening he had ever lived through. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video with those who like supernatural stories.